Being poor is not your fault. I want to talk to you about this very peculiar situation and ideology that is permeating throughout the capitalist economosphere. I am your host, the Working Class Guru, here to help you actualize your mind and soul to become a whole human being in a system that otherwise alienates you, exploits you, turns you into nothing more than a cog in a machine. Remember that an employee appears on the balance sheet in a quarterly earnings report as nothing more than an expense. You're nothing more to the company. You're nothing more than an expense, and you're not going to be on the assets. You're not an asset. You're an expense to them. You're nothing more than just livestock. And this is one of the reasons why I'm here, is to help you become a whole human being. Realize that you have worth. You are a special living being with blood and bones. You and all the working class people. I'm here today. If you want to, I'd invite you to subscribe and click the like button. It helps with my algorithm. It helps me out as a human being to transcend and create more stuff for people like you. So today, being poor is not your fault. By no means should you ever think that you are less than what you are because of what your balance is. And it's a strange sort of ideological thing that goes on within capitalism, to think that you can evaluate a person's being through their bank account. It's like a qualitative sort of dynamic, and they try to justify this through natural selection. It's very eugenic. It's almost a social Darwinism, if you will. That the reasons why you're poor is for some god-awful reason, is that they try to justify this because you're not employing yourself in the system as well as you could. Now let me give you a explanation and an analogy as to what capitalism really is, okay? This is one of the reasons why you're poor. Imagine, if you will, if you started playing a game of Monopoly, okay? But if there's 10 people playing, and one person controls 40% of the board and 40% of all of the wealth already in the game itself. Now, would you play that game? Do you think that game is fair? Obviously not. However, we're already in this situation playing that very game, which I just discussed to you earlier, okay? We're living in a cross-continental global game of Monopoly. So how do you get past this feeling of being poor as your own fault, which you're meant to feel this way? It's meant that this individualistic culture that they've woven in has created a dominant universal morality that's supposed to spread and permeate upon all people like a seed, like a flower pollinating everything else into people's minds. But this isn't the truth. There has to be a general morality. This is what I'm constantly talking about, is that the poor should distinctly separate themselves from their employers. There needs to be a dichotomy, a diversion, a distraction, or a segregation of these two ideologies, because you're special, you're a needed person, you're a contributor to society, and the money that you have, your income, your net worth is by no means an indicator of who you are as a human being. It is by no means has any sort of a value indicator to the phenomenological nature of your very existence permeating into being. You have history. You have a story. Think about this. Every person that you've ever met in your life, if you wrote a book about them, it would be an epic novel. There's incredible episodic virtue within a person themselves. An adventure. Your life is an adventure. And yet you're meant to be relegated to this sort of position as a mere peasant, an employee. No, the system is not geared towards making everybody a millionaire, believe it or not. This ideal, this individualistic ideal that is held true by the entrepreneurs of society, is only merely a part of their own value system. It's not really meant to be adopted by everybody else. They're a class in and of themselves. What would the peasants be like if they were forced to adopt the general luxury lifestyles and to value that of the nobility? what are some of their routines and some of their rituals and belief systems. It was not meant for you, okay? Yet we have this system that just tries to teach everybody that you have to attain to these certain luxury lifestyles of millionaire, and if you literally can't find your footing in society if you don't really have this. And this is it is a problem, okay? It is a problem that I have money, because most poor people are kept in a perpetuation. Poor people are not lazy. The idea that there's a certain idea of why people are poor, okay? Capitalism creates a mythology around the poor, that their lack of effort is what's creating this situation for them. But that's completely implausible and not true whatsoever. Sure, there's certain instances of people who are drunk or whatnot, but most working class people, most poor people are incredibly hardworking people. Most of them have more than one job. From the poor people that I've met and just in society in general, they work longer hours than entrepreneurs and capitalists, and yet they receive much less of the national income than that, and much less of the GDP. So why is this? Well, it comes down to two things: exploitation and alienation. Here, if you want to read up on more of these, I'm going to create videos separate from these, and I'll post them right here. You can go and learn about what exploitation is, and you can learn a little bit more about what alienation is from this video. Just you could click on one of those if you want to too. I'll post them. If not, then I'll post them later. But exploitation and alienation. Alienation is basically a way in which the effort that you put into your work, into your labor, is taken away, is not really represented in the wage that you're being given. So the physical, creative force that you're exerting into the world onto this thing, your work is a thing. It's materialistic. Marx had a really clear idea of the materialist nature of dialectic of history, is that there's a material thing that's created from your labor. Even if you're in the service industry, you still have to think of it as a materialistic thing. But what you're traded for that thing is never in relation to what you've actually created. You actually have to produce something where the value of it is worth more than the wage that you receive on it. Otherwise, it would be a bad venture. No capitalist would ever, in their right mind, hire somebody who they didn't think they could exploit in those ways to get more surplus value out of. And so that would just be a bunk venture, right? So another way is alienation, exploitation. Now, exploitation is way more systematic than alienation. Exploitation can even be said to have started when you're just a baby. Think about it, if you take any mammal, even if you take a predator, a large predator, a lion or a tiger, and you start them from a very young age, and you regiment them, and you teach them to be more docile, you feed them regularly, you take this wild animal and you've trained them to be more docile, more like sheep. And this is what humans are. Humans are based on their herd instinct, what they see and what they've been taught. They follow the herd. And capitalists know this. Capitalists will exploit that, and they've exploited this by creating these systems that are like the rat race. The idea is that you're in this cyclical cycle of people who are basically living above the poverty line. There's a reason why wages are kept stagnant while the living expenses are going up and up and up. It's because of this system. People will continue to do things regardless of the fact if they're fair or not. And because authoritative figures tell them that it's fair, and by treating people as if they're from the day that they're born, keeping them in this compulsory education system and telling them that it's freedom, it's not freedom, okay? There's no way that this is freedom. And so being poor is a static part of your existence. It's a part of opportunity. Equal opportunity is not in actuality. It's an abstract concept. The opportunity in being able to leave at any job is only an instantiated abstract concept that isn't really the actuality. And that's just where people go wrong, is by thinking that the opportunity itself is somehow an actuality, but it's not. Because what happens when you leave? You have to go find another job. So you're a very special person, and being poor is not, you didn't do anything to deserve this. It's just merely a manner of where you were born, who you were born to, in what family you were born to. some of it, that has a lot to do with it. How your parents educated you, what you saw. Monkey see, monkey do. You hear that? Monkey see, monkey do. Humans act on that herd instinct, and capitalists exploit that. And they've kept this system going that is regimenting more and more working class people to be subservient slaves to move the cogs of the wheels of these machines. All right. So like and subscribe. If you don't agree with me, then tell me why in the comments. If you do agree with me, if I've helped you out, remember that you're special. It doesn't, this system, that it's only a game. Capitalism is only a game, and it'll be over one day. We can change that. You can try to create a trade union with your fellow comrades. Subscribe to this channel. Go to workingclassguru.com. I'll see you later.